So I hate bad journalism, and I'm watching this, and I'm really disappointed with Anna because she was someone who I really, really liked 12 years ago, and I genuinely did. I liked how she was fighting for people's rights and she was trying to end the war, and I supported most things, and it didn't make sense to me why people were ignoring me. It didn't make sense to me why people weren't helping me or weren't trying to work with me or trying to communicate with me, and that they were only talking through songs, but some of their songs just didn't seem to link to me at all and some did, and then I was just like, what the fuck, it was all very, very confusing. And Young Turks was like, I want to support this group. And even a few months ago, I put them as like, when I was talking about governments that I want to set up, I was using them as an example. I mean, technically, okay, I haven't really watched them in the last few years, so maybe they've become more and more anti-Israel over the years, and I just haven't seen it because I don't really like politics. I don't want to focus on politics because I think politics is about democracy, and I think that the people should be just the ones that decide what happens. I'm not a dictator. I do not want to dictate things. When it comes to religion, though, I am God, I am Christ, and I do have the right to dictate religion because religion is supposed to be all about God. So I have to stand in and step in when it comes to religion because that is my responsibility to give you information about. And any Muslim country is a country that I wish wasn't a Muslim country, wasn't a country dictated by the Quran. But unfortunately, they chose that, and I have to respect that was their choice. And part of democracy is choice, and if they've chosen that, I have to respect that they've done that for a reason. I think they have done that for a reason, which is that new souls that are living their first life are more likely to go to these areas, and these people are going to have more wolves, should I say, more dangerous people in amongst them, and that's why they need to have different rules. They need to have stricter rules. There are a lot of Pakistani people who have come over here and have done some terrible things to children, and it aggravates me, it angers me. When I first heard these stories, I didn't want to believe it myself because the idea that policemen are hearing these stories and just did nothing, this just doesn't make any sense. I don't believe it because it sounds ridiculous. That wasn't the world that I grew up in. I feel like my world, throughout my world, or my life, my past, I believed that England was a fairly nice country, and then when I found out that I was God, I realized, I felt like my eyes were open for the first time because I was seeing how many people there were online that were willing to talk for me, say, oh, God told me this, Jesus told me this, Christ told me this, and I know you're not talking to anyone. Jesus is AJ Miller, a guy who doesn't know anything about me and has no truth, and your Christ is me, and I'm not talking to you. I didn't give you that dream. I didn't tell you this. I didn't tell you that, and therefore my view on society just fell apart at that point, and it is getting worse and worse because I'm just seeing the level of corruption, the level of liars, the level of people that just don't care about others, and it's a shame what's happened to TYT because I supported this woman, and now she seems just to be so brainwashed by this the belief that Israel is bad that she doesn't seem to see any faults in Palestine, even though she's never been to the country, even though she wouldn't even want to. How can you say that Islamophobia isn't a real thing when most journalists would not want to go to Gaza to actually look at what's going on because they are scared that they might get shot? I would love to know the truth. And a part of me wants to go to Gaza so I can actually see if there are areas that are untouched and fine. But I wouldn't do that because the fear that I have of the Islamic regime, that Hamas is a Islamic kind of government, but it's not a government. It's like an Islamic group that bases itself on Islamic principles and Islamic beliefs, and they would kill me if I go there, so I can't go there. And then to see people say that Islamophobia, there's nothing wrong with Islam, whilst also being the types of people that would be too afraid to go to these countries in fear that Hamas are going to kill them. How can you defend these people when you yourself wouldn't even want to be around these people to work out what the truth is? If there are people that are being locked up unfairly, if Israel is locking up Palestinians unfairly. You know, why don't you go to Israel, go to these prisons, talk to the people, find out what the truth is? And, you know, if there is a lot of angry people, you need to recognize that you might not get the truth. You know, if a 14-year-old was raped by 2 or 3 people, you know, she's going to be angry. Now, if she starts saying that she did it that she was raped by hundreds of people every single night, you know, you have to recognize that this might not be the truth. It might just be her being angry that it happened 3 or 4 times and she's just exaggerating. And, you know, part of being a good journalist should be to tell the story as it is, but also recognize that there are options as to why the story might not be true. And Anna is not doing this here, so she's making me turn against her. But yeah, I just want to talk about it, I guess, say what she's doing wrong.
Them a week in advance that there was intelligence information.
So she's just reading something.
But on the part of the high levels in the army, of people who went down to Eilat, even though we informed them a week in advance that there was intelligence information.
Okay, first of all, so they're saying that before October 7th, there was information that they could have gone down and stopped it, but they were told not to. You know, where are you getting this information from? How do you know this is the truth? Is this something that actually someone has said, or is this just a report that's being given to you because it's saying that this is being said, but really it's not being said? Like, who said this? Is this the truth? And maybe this person is just inciting something bigger and trying to incite this sort of talk or conversation or chat. You know, how do you know any of this is true? You know, for all I know, maybe the whole of the Middle East is just a bunch of happy people living nice lives, and all the wars about Armenians being killed and Yemen's being killed and Jews with a D, I think it is, and just all the Christians that are being burnt alive. You know, maybe this is all just lies and propaganda. You know, I've heard all of this stuff, but I have to recognize that this could all be lies. And how do I know that this isn't the truth? How do I know she's giving me the correct information? I don't trust anything, and I don't trust that the people giving it know the truth. And I don't trust that this guy, who is Shalom Shit Trick. I mean, that sounds like shit and Rick. So it sounds like shit trick. Shalom shit trick. I mean, that name alone, I don't know if you can see it, if it's not very clear. Shalom shit trick. I mean, this sounds like shalom, this all shit trick. I mean, that's what it sounds like. So how do I know that this person isn't who's claiming to be an IDF soldier? How do I know that he is an IDF soldier? How do I know that he's not just a spy trying to claim to be an IDF soldier when shoulder, or maybe he's just being paid by people to say this? You know, I can't trust any resources, and if someone's going to be one-sided and just say that this is the truth because someone who is claiming to be an Israeli soldier, I can't talk, an IDF soldier, just because he's saying that this is the truth. You know, they said on the night there was that people were sleeping and told not to wake up. Well, maybe they were told that every single night. You know, we're being lazy, we're just on guard, we're doing nothing. You know, if you're doing nothing every single day for 5 years and you don't usually get up and then something bad happens and you think, oh, well, let's not bother because we think it's just a false alarm. Maybe you're always getting false alarms. Maybe they're always getting, things, false information come through. Maybe none of this is the truth. Maybe the whole thing is just made up by some sort of shit stirrer, which is what his surname sounds like. His surname literally sounds like shit trick. And, you know, I'm seeing that as a warning. I'm seeing that as a sign that maybe none of this is true, but Anna's not recognizing that. I don't know what else to say.
What? Our lives are not worth it? No, Shalom, your life isn't worth it, clearly. You think Netanyahu cares about your life? You think Netanyahu and this Israeli government cares about the hostages right now?
You know, I think that's also quite disgusting. To say you've never met this guy, you don't know what he's feeling, you don't know what he's going through. you know, maybe he has just been told loads of stories about the people that are being hacked up in his country, and he himself is fearing these people. And then he's seeing that these people are having high birth rates, giving birth to 9, 10 babies, and just living in tents, and giving birth to more, and getting more pregnant, even though they know that they've lost their home and they're living in the tents. These people don't care about their kids, because if they did care about their kids, they wouldn't be having so many. They would be focusing on the ones that they've got. So they've obviously got some very wrong ideologies. You know, a guy wants more and more kids, so he has like 5 wives, so he can have what, 50 babies or something. Like what is the plan? Why is it a good idea to have so many mothers? I just, there's a lot of things that are wrong with this, and just to think that it's all Netanyahu. You think Netanyahu? I could say this about her. Does she care about me, who is God? I mean, I could just say, she doesn't care about me. What, you think she cares about me? Does she thinks she cares that I have 8 billion kids that I have to look after, and I can't look after this many? Does she care that I am having, as a god, watching children being married off to cousins that are 20, 30 years older than them and got other wives? You know, does she not care about the brainwashing that I'm seeing kids being told that 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds have to be wearing full veils so that men won't be attracted to them, because men over there are attracted to 6-year-olds. You know, they look at 6-year-olds and think, wow, I want my dick in that pussy. You know, is that what they're thinking? And is that why did the children have to wear these veils and not be allowed to play sports, and not be allowed to live their life, or wear colour, or wear pink, or be demonized for having their own thoughts, or wanting to be educated to go to a degree, or to get a degree? I'm not speaking properly. You know, does she not care that I am the mother of 8 billion people, and yet I have to watch 8 billion people cheer when people die? Yeah, a Jew has died. Does she not care about me and what I, as a god, have to see when I see people cheering in the streets over the murders of people? You know, I will cheer over them because I will look back at them cheering over others, and I will think I will do the same. Now, that is a different thing. If you are treating someone badly because you know that that person has been treating other people badly, you know, if I see a 9-year-old crying, no, I don't want to marry him, no, I don't want to marry. But if I knew that 9-year-old used to be an 80-year-old that would marry children, then I would just be like, ha, you get your punishment. You did that to some other child in your past life, and now that same karma is being inflicted on you. But you know what? I would rather not see it at all. And if that is what it takes, if genocide is what is going to take to get rid of this ideology. You know, I have been saying that I am God for 12 years, and yet for some reason these things that I am against, which is child marriage and honor killings and just having loads and loads of kids, you know, it's still happening. If the people who know about me are promoting me, why are they still allowing people to have lots and lots of babies and making it illegal to have an abortion, even though you've got 5 or 6 kids? You know, you don't have a house, you know you're struggling because you don't have the facilities or the money or the care, and what, you've got other people. Does she care about the poverty that is lying in these countries? Does she not care that these countries don't have enough money to feed themselves, to create enough businesses? They don't have enough water to grow crops and look after their land, and yet for some reason they still think it's fine to have more and more babies each year, and just have more and more, and marry cousins, and allow men to take advantage of kids whilst brainwashing them into believing that they're less than a man because they're a woman. You know, does she not care about the problems that lied in Gaza before the war? Does she not care that these people, some of them, are happy to see Jews die? Does she not care that some of these men literally went into this war thing, saw lots of people being slashed up, and then thought, you know what, I'm going to grab that woman, I'm going to stick my penis in her, and I'm going to make her give me a blowjob, and then I'm going to laugh? And does she not care about the actual cruelty and mannerisms of which the crimes were being committed? You know, it's one thing to just shoot at people because you want to kill them and you know that there's too many of them, but it's another thing to actually think, you know what, I'm going to see all these people being sliced up, and I'm going to start grabbing people, stripping them down, waving their bums around so that everyone can see their vagina, and I'm going to then take advantage of this vagina whilst being proud of what I'm doing. You know, these people are sick, and if these people are the victims of these innocent crime, or these innocent people that are being killed, if these are the victims, these people that were actually the rapists of some of these people, or people that thought that this was fine, to cheer over all their suffering, oh wow, and Iran has thrown a bomb at Israel, let's celebrate, let's parade in the streets, and she's calling these civilians innocent. She is being completely blinded to the truth.
You think the aerial bombardments, the 3-month blockade on humanitarian aid wasn't going to impact the hostages that the Israeli government is pretending to care about? They knew. They don't.
And you don't think that those raids would have actually killed some bad people that took pleasure in making people suffer? You don't think that any of this war that has happened has actually had a good advantage, because the bad people in this country are now going to suffer and be punished for the inhumane crimes, or for the funding of getting people to go into Israel and just kill whoever. It doesn't matter who. No authority, no rules, no regulations. Just kill. Take pictures, prove that you've killed it, and we'll give you money. Do you not realize that some of these bombs are actually killing very bad people?
Care. How many of those hostages were actually killed by Israel's military activity? We know at least 3 of them were shot to death.
How many of those hostages probably want to die because they've been locked up in rooms, they've been starved, some of them lost their fingers? How many of these people probably want to die and just want to die quickly, therefore would rather a bomb just hit them so that they can die and don't have to continue? I hate the fact that they've still kept hostages. I think it would have been better to just kill them, just kill them all so that they don't suffer, so they can be reincarnated, so that they can get a new life, a new body, and just, I think that is better than being forced and starved and have to live in fear. These people are living in fear, and they are probably going to die at some point. They're going to be killed by the people that are keeping them a hostage. So you can't just say they're the ones that you can't just say that Israel is the ones that are doing it, and you can't say that he doesn't care. You cannot say that unless you've spoken to him, unless you know. And you know what? I think if the reason why he doesn't care is because he's watching my videos and he knows that I'm God and he knows that I'm Christ, and the reason why, I don't know if that's the truth or not. I don't know who knows about me, but I know that if he's listening to what I'm saying, and if if this war is being encouraged by people who know that I'm God and know that I don't want war, but I don't want children to be married off to guys twice their age. I don't want women to have so many children that they just keep popping out more and then end up dying on one of the births. You can die through childbirth. That is such a common thing. And if you die during childbirth and you've already got 5 kids, don't you think that your 5 kids are going to suffer way more than the death that you experience? You're just going to get a new body, but your 5 kids are going to be in this world, and they're going to have to spend the rest of their life knowing that their mum got greedy and wanted to have more babies and she could pop out and then die because of it, and because of that they now have to spend the rest of their life not having someone look after them. Their male partner might have other wives, so maybe they'll have stepmoms, but maybe their stepmoms won't treat them nicely. Maybe their stepmoms will treat them badly because they've got their own kids and they're putting their own kids first, and maybe there's lots of people around that think, I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to brainwash these kids. It's so easy to brainwash people under the age of 15, and to think that this war isn't getting rid of bad people. To think that these bombs are not doing anything good other than just killing more hostages, and that that the Prime Minister doesn't care. It's a very cold-minded sense. I could claim that you don't care about all the suffering in these countries, because if you did, you would say that you would realize that they're not innocent people, and that a lot of these women have been forced into Islam and they are now living as some sort of servant. I've heard stories of people that have been living in Gaza, and they're a bride, a hostage bride, bride of war or something, or what's it? I can't remember the specific term, but they're like a war bride, and they wanted the war to happen because they didn't want to be a war bride of this Hamas group that was forcing them to marry people that they don't want, or turn into some sort of slave because their husband likes the idea of them having sex with lots of people. Maybe the husband is just profiting out of it. You know, if the men can do whatever they want, then the women are going to be victims of the men's crimes, and they're not even going to see, because they can use their religion as a way of saying that this isn't a crime, because women belong to men, and if women are just men's properties, and if a man wants to sell his wife off to lots of other people, then if that's what his choice is, then that's that. You know, they can come up with all sorts of terrible excuses for why they do what they do, and this is what Islam allows. And to just think that this war has done nothing but kill innocent people, it's just so close-minded, and it's terrible.
To death by IDF soldiers. You think your government cares about you?
You think that you care about me? You think that you care about the people that were starving in Gaza before this happened, the poverty that happened before, the fact that they were having way too many kids and the land was very small, and you know, the whole of Gaza Strip looks like lots and lots and lots of houses, and you know, it looks overcrowded, and it's only a matter of time before they start, you know, wanting to move out, wanting more land, and creating some sort of army. You know, you could see that an army was being formed because there's so many houses in such a small area, and you could see that it's not going to stay that way. And what, you think you care about them? You think you care about them? Really? Really? Do you care about them?
How many IDF soldiers have died in this genocide that they're carrying out?
How many Christians have been killed by Islam? How many Armenians have been killed by Islam? How many Jews and Iranians? How many Iranians have been killed by Islam? You know, I don't know what Hamas is, but I know Islam is killing lots of stuff, and I know Christians Christians used to kill a lot of people and stuff. You know, it's just war. It's war and people, sick minds, sick beliefs, but it needs to happen because there are a lot of people in the world, and people realize that the less people there are, the more they have, the more they can take. If you kill people, you can take their homes, and you can spread out more, and you know, war is a bigger thing than just one person not caring about other people. And if she's trying to simplify that into that way, I think it's very wrong.
Based on an attack that happened that could have been prevented, but for some reason, it seems like the Israeli government didn't want to prevent those atrocities from being
But this report is just something that just popped up recently. So how do you know that this report was something that happened 2 years ago? How do you know this report hasn't just popped up recently because people are trying to brainwash you into thinking that this report did happen 2 years ago and really it didn't? You know,
committed in Israel. Seems like they saw a possible benefit, a political benefit, to these atrocities being committed against the Israel.
Or maybe they saw a political benefit in making up lies about this event that happened. Maybe they saw a political benefit in trying to make out that, you know, the story was different, changing the narrative of the past. Do you actually know? Were you actually there? I don't think she's getting the full picture.
Israeli people. But hey, at least Shalom's asking the right questions.
Is he? Is he? Is he asking the right questions? Is he even talking? Or are you literally just reading some sort of report that's completely made up? Like, I don't even know if that report is the truth. It could just be propaganda. You could just be believing propaganda.
Maybe dig a little deeper. Get to know your government. Get to know what...
Maybe you should dig a little deeper. Get to know your government. Get to know why they might be doing what they're doing.
It's really about, and what their real goals are.
Their real goals are to turn people against Israel. That's me. They're trying to get people to turn against me, and I want people to turn against me. Why? Because I know that I'm God, and I know that if you turn against me and you start realizing that I am actually God, you might be like, oh wait, yeah, I have turned against God, and God might punish me for it. He might turn me into a dog or a monkey in a zoo or something like that. You know, there's a big long list of things that I can do. And yeah, I as a human can't do it, but I as a God can, because reincarnation is the truth. And souls are basically just souls that are living in bodies, and when your body dies, I can give you a new body, and it doesn't have to be human. So if you want to turn against me, you can, but I feel like you yourself need to know what the government is doing. The government knows that I'm God and knows that some sort of war is going to happen and that people can believe what they want. Now, if they want to believe you and think that Israel is just a terrible organization of genocidal maniacs, well, this genocidalic, is that a word? Maniac is me, hi, and I don't care.
Also worth emphasizing that Jeremy Scahill's reporting about what Netanyahu was up to weeks prior to the October 7th attack might shed some light on what the reality is.
The reality is you don't know what he did prior. Every story you could be hearing could be lies and fabrications, just made up lies. So I don't actually like how she's turned. She seems to have turned into a sort of nasty person in this view. He doesn't care. It just this whole nasty attitude that she's got. She doesn't know.
Of this entire situation, just 2 weeks before the October 7th attacks, the Israeli leader delivered a speech at the UN General Assembly in New York, brandishing a map of what he promised could be the new Middle East. It depicted a state of Israel that stretched continuously.
Is that the truth? Or is this interview just made up? Does this interview exist? And if it does exist, how do you know it's not just AI? Anything can be fake right now. So I think we're going to have a difficulty because no one is going to know what's the truth and what's a lie. But what I know is that I am only going to listen to journalists who give two sides of the story and who are open-minded to the possibility that either side or either angle or lots of things could be true.